It's good to be here. So I do a lot of things. I'm a writer, I'm a student, I'm a blogger, a YouTuber, but I identify as a storyteller. So I love to tell you all a story that I call The Call to College. Repeat after me, say the call.
The call
to college.
to college.
Growing up, I had the perfect role model. This role model was someone who stood at 6'1", long curly hair, and this was a man that I called Pawpaw. He was my grandfather. And every time my grandfather would see me, his heart smiled in the same way that mine did, bright and white. And I said, Papa, how are you doing? And he would always say, my professor, Christopher, it's good to see you. And I didn't know what a professor was because my only reference to that word was when I was watching the Powerpuff Girls and they had Professor Tony. So that was my only idea of what a professor was. But I understood that at a young age that I was going to be a professor. And so my grandfather would always pray for me. He always prayed that I would be a communicator and would speak to the world and speak to crowds and that I would be a professor. So I went to elementary school and young, and they would always ask, what do you want to be when you grow up? And I said, I think I want to be a professor, even though I thought I was going to make the Powerpuff Girls. And so I understood that in order for me to be a professor, once I really learned what it was someone who teaches at college. And as a young man, I grew up on the north side of Columbus in the hood. And so I never really understood much about college or higher education. When we were in school, we would go to the assemblies, we would identify by our high school class. So my kindergarten class, first grade class, second grade class, we would say class of 2012 because the goal was simply to get through high school. And I understood, well, high school, I'm passing that because I'm going to college because I'm Chris Sumlin, the professor. And so I always had that in the back of my mind. But then I understood that what my dream was and what was reflected in me in my life and my friends was not one that was conducive for a college life. So I went to middle school, elementary school of course, and I went to high school. And in 9th grade, I enrolled in the Charles School at Ohio Dominican University located here in Columbus on Brentnell. The Charles School is an early college high school program that takes place in 5 years, and during your 3rd year of college, you go to Ohio Dominican, and you have the potential to receive your Associate of Arts degree. You have to get 62 credit hours, you have to do a really good job, you have to look good, because that's how I got it. And so I worked really hard in college, and I was like, oh my God, this is my chance. I'll get to go to college, I'll get to be the professor, this is what I want to do. 9th grade went well, 10th grade went well, and 11th grade I was admitted into Ohio Dominican University at 16. I took an art class and it was very fun. And so I took 1 class, then I took 2 classes, and I took 4 classes, and I took 5 classes, and I was really going into this college life, I was living the dream. And one thing that I've come to understand as I go away from the UNCF thing, but in life there's always that whisper, like that intuition of what it is that we're supposed to do next. So when I was at Ohio Dominican, I was living my dream, which was simply just to go to college. I didn't know anything about an advanced degree like a master's or doctorate. The understanding that I was getting an associate's degree was enough for me. So as I started venturing through the Charles School, I eventually was like, I think there might be something else out there for me. And so I started applying to different colleges. I got a 20 on the ACT. I've never identified as the strongest student, but I said, if I work really hard, if I write really good essays, and I continue to be the good-looking person that I am, maybe that somebody will let me into their college. So I applied to 9 colleges, Baldwin Wallace University, Pace University, Howard University, and all of these different HBCUs, because I was told that maybe you should try to go to an HBCU, a historically black college. And when I looked up which historically black colleges were at the top at that time, it was number 1, Spelman College, number 2, Howard University, and number 3, Morehouse. So I said I should probably apply to these schools, but I really want to go to Spelman because Spelman's number 1. Any of you who know anything about HBCUs, Spelman's an all-girls school. So that was it. So I definitely took Spelman off the list. I did apply to Howard and Morehouse and 6 other colleges, and I got accepted into all of them. I got accepted to 9 colleges. So as we continue to wrap up and end the program at the Charles School, I found out that I was going to be the only African-American male that was going to get the associate's degree that year. Now, the Charles School was about half male, half female, and it was predominantly African-American. So I said, why is it that we go to predominantly African-American schools, there's just about as many guys as there are girls, why am I the only African-American male that is going to get the associate's degree that year? I said, that's a problem. So I said, I want to go to a space where I can see myself, where I can try to flourish and grow. And for me, that was Morehouse. So after I did the Ohio Dominican University, everybody was saying, oh, you should stay at ODU. You should just get the 4+1 program. You can get your master's. You can have one before you can have your first drink. You'll have a master's degree at 20. I was like, that's kind of tempting. I have a master's degree before I start drinking? I can totally see that from me. And then again, that whisper came. The same whisper that told me I could go to college. The same whisper that said I could get acceptance in 9 colleges. And the whisper, the intuition, the universe, whatever you like to call that, really told me to go to Morehouse. It was something that I just felt clear as day. I have no other way to articulate it, but a very, very strong feeling. When I started getting financial aid awards from all the colleges, Baldwin Wallace was throwing out money, Miami University, which I applied to, was throwing out money, Pace was throwing out money, but Morehouse was not. They barely accepted me. I got deferred the first time. And when I got deferred, I said, well, maybe it's not meant to be. Maybe this thing was just, some gas. Maybe it's just not for it to go. And so it actually was not. And I actually ended up getting accepted on February 15th of 2013. And so I started telling everybody, I'm going to Morehouse. I'm going to Morehouse. I'm going to go to Morehouse. I'm going to be a Morehouse man. And every single person told me I was crazy. Nobody agreed. They said, why would you go down to that school when you go to Ohio Dominican? Why would you go to Morehouse when they haven't given you any money? What are you thinking? You're crazy. And as I'm writing my second book, which is called Dylan's Thing Called College, which is about my college experience, I've been reflecting on those moments. And I will never understand the strong, visceral feelings that I was getting about this whole journey. Because I wasn't trying to have a baby, I wasn't trying to rob a bank, I wasn't trying to do anything wild, I was simply just trying to go to college. Because I knew that I had the call. And so I said, sign me for every loan I'm eligible for. I said, my mother has good credit, I will make it back if I can sell a limb, I will make this money, let me go to college. And I went down. And I remember as we were driving down to Morehouse on the highway to Atlanta, I literally broke down crying because I said, am I really good enough for this? Am I really gonna do this? Did I really answer the call? Is this really what I should do? Am I really gonna be the professor? So I went down to Morehouse and I got through my first couple of weeks in Morehouse College's campus during my fall semester. And one day I was in my room and I got an email from Natalie Coles. Natalie Coles is the director from UNCF. She said, hi, I'm Natalie Coles. I said, hi. She said, I hear your story and you're amazing, I want to help. She said, you have over a 2.5? I said, well, I really don't have grades yet, but I have my high school transcript. Do I get enough grades for that? She was like, yes, do really good essays, apply to the scholarship, and let's see what we can do. And that freshman year, I was awarded my $5,000 scholarship from UNCF. And that for me was the wink that I felt like I needed, the reassurance that I needed, the validation that I needed, that I was making the right decision. Because everybody told me that I was crazy. Nobody believed in it but me. And so as we're here, I'll always tell you all to invest and be a part of these kind of journeys and be careful what you tell people. Because the same people who said, you're young, you're black, you go to an poor neighborhood, you'll never go to college, the same people who said, you should just go to Ohio Dominican, the same people who didn't agree with me when I said I was going to Morehouse were the same ones who liked my Facebook post when I graduated last month. So as we're here, I could tell stories all day, and I've had a really good time. My freshman year at Morehouse, I made the Dean's List, and I did really well. My sophomore year, I studied cinema, television, and emerging media studies. So after my sophomore year, I started interning at different television entities. In my sophomore year, I interned at 20th Century Fox. In 20th Century Fox, I had my own apartment in Los Angeles because one of my Morehouse brothers lived in Los Angeles, so let me stay there. Spent a lot of time alone and reflecting, and I said, I should probably try to write about my journey and tell people about what it is that I do to inspire them as well. Because we see what is possible by evaluating other people's lives. We didn't know that we'd go to the moon until someone did it first. We didn't know that we could FaceTime and do amazing technology like the iPhone until someone created it. So I said, if I went through this journey, I need to write these stories down and try to inspire people after me. So my junior year, I started writing. And on April 6, 2016, I wrote Dylan's Thing Called Life, which is available here today. I have 10 copies that I'm willing to sign and give away for free for anyone that wants one. After my junior year, when I wrote my book, I got an internship at The Tonight Show starring Jimmy Fallon. Any Jimmy Fallon fans in the house? And then during my senior year, I applied to Turner Broadcasting. I was interning there in HR. So when people always ask me, what are you going to do with your television degree? I'm like, a lot. We're going to get the train moving. And so I graduated from Morehouse on May 21st, 2017. The reason why I was able to write the book, to do all the work that I've done, to get the internships, is because someone invested in my dream. Because I answered the call to college. It seemed impossible at the time, but I actually ended up doing it. This fall, I have the privilege of going to Boston University where I'll pursue a Master's of Science in Television, concentrating in production and management. And I plan to work for the Open Orphan Network one day and write more books. So as you all are here hearing about UNCF and the work that they're doing, I invite you to continue to invest and learn more and get involved. Because what you don't know is that UNCF has the capacity to really change the trajectory of people's lives, like in this very moment. So as I stand here today, I'm completely a manifestation of the same prayers that my grandfather prayed. That I am college educated, that I'm speaking in front of crowds and doing the work that I am because someone simply invested in my dream. So thank you all so much for listening. I hope you enjoyed my story.